Welcome to the Business and Bubbly podcast. This is the place for women in business who are on the journey of building their big ideas and want to have fun along the way. It's for those of us who also know we aren't meant to do business or life alone. Hi, I'm Charity Majors, your host and the founder of Business and Bubbly. Think of this kind of like the can I pick your brain chats that you've always wanted to have with those who are doing epic things, plus business besties, hype girls, and getting into massive action towards your next big idea all in the same place. Oh, and bubbles, because if you're not having fun along the way, you're not doing it right. Together, we'll unlock what it means to be seen, known, heard, and championed all along the ups and downs of entrepreneurship and being a woman in business building big dreams. Each week, I'll bring you a quick sip business tip, as well as interviews from top experts that make you feel like you're getting bottle service for your business. We're having the raw and real conversations and chatting about all the things, the messy middle, the pivots, scaling, the good days and the bad days, because here we do real. It's where we can work hard, play hard, cry it out, and dance it out all at the same time without being judged. This is a place where we are in the arena together and we are each other's biggest fans because most of us have enough comments from the cheap seats. It's where our too much is par for the course and where the gaps of our not enough are filled in by the other epic women that are around us. It's where we can be unapologetic about the mission we are on, about the big dreams on our heart, and the business we are building without having to be perfect or have it all together, or even pretend to. It's a supportive community where business is being done amongst like-minded women, because when money gets in the hands of good women, great things happen. It's a place where you have the support around you to get out of your comfort zone and go after your big ideas, because even when you fail forward or when you reach the top, you know it won't be alone. Also, if you know anything about me, you'll know that I'm obsessed with creating platforms that lift up other women to be seen and heard and known. So with that in mind, I'd like to invite you to list your business on our directory called Find Women in Business. All you've got to do is text the word directory to 833-231-8098, and I'll text you the link back to get your free listing. This is also a great way to connect with other women in business from around the world, so definitely check it out. And now let's get to the good stuff. Grab a glass of your favorite beverage, Prosecco, bubbly water, or whatever your flavor is, and let's dive in. Are you with me? Here we go. Welcome to the Business and Bubbly podcast. I'm your host, Charity Majors, and today's quick sip episode is actually brought to you by our search for chapter directors. Now, if you are somewhat of an influencer or an expert in your area and you have a desire to move from just being in the room to leading the room, and you want to go from being involved to influential, you know that you are meant to lead a community of modern women in business, then being a chapter director in your local area could be for you. And I would love to get your application and to chat with you about the possibility of you bringing what we have at Business and Bubbly into your sphere of influence for modern women in business. So all you've got to do is head over to businessandbubbly.com, scroll down a little bit, you'll see the button that says apply to be a chapter director. You're smart, you'll find it, and shoot me over your application, and I can't wait to read it. And now let's dive into the show. So we are actually going to be talking today about a really fun story that Oprah has shared before, and it's about being responsible for the energy that you bring into the room. Now, if you are at all familiar with, the periodic table of elements and energy and all of this different stuff, it kind of sounds a little woo, but hear me out for a second. And this actually, I have a full chapter of this
in my book, if you haven't heard my book, it's called Meant for More, Igniting Your Purpose in a World That Tries to Dim Your Light. It's on Amazon. Grab a copy. You'll be able to read along with this portion of, or start to understand this portion of the conversation that we're having. But when it comes to energy, right, like everything is energy. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It's only transferred. That's one of the law of physics. And when it comes to energy, if you remember, like to back in the day, like elementary science class, where we learned about the periodic table of elements, where it's like water is, made up of H2O, like two hydrogen molecules and an oxygen molecule, right? And these hydrogen molecules, they have a certain anatomical structure of how, like you think of like an atom, it's like this little, you imagine in your mind, right? Like it's this little thing, like this little molecule that has these spinning things around it, right? Like these neurons and protons and electrons and all this stuff, right? And all of that is energy. And when we then condense those molecules together, we then get water, right? And everything in the known universe is made up of this combination of atoms and molecules and electrons, and right. So everything is energy. Okay. And now when it comes to energy, when it comes to our body, the energy that we come from, that we be, that we embody, that we are embodying at that moment matters, right? Like it affects those around us. Like, have you ever like walked into a room and you can like feel the vibes, like good vibes or bad vibes, or you're around someone and you're just like, love the energy that they bring, you love being around them, or like you're around someone else and you're like, ooh, like, hey, energy vampire, like maybe I'm just not gonna spend a lot of time with you, right? Like you know what I'm talking about. Well, so this gets into, if we are coming from a space of, and I have this really great chart in this chapter of my book, but when we come from a space of fear or apathy or kind of insecurity, it actually is this lower vibration that comes from us, right? We tend to we might shrink down a little bit. We might not look people in the eye as much. We don't take up as much space with like our shoulders and our expression and our body posture and our body languaging. We might hide in the corner a little bit. But when we come from this space of courage or strength or confidence or love or acceptance, these are actually higher vibration ways that we are able to show up when it comes to our energy. And so those are when we become magnetic. Those are when we become the it girl in the room. Those are the ones where we become this attractive person, this attractive character, this magnetic personality when we walk into a room. And this kind of coincides with this story that Oprah shared one time where she was going, I think maybe an interview or something. And there was this sign that said, please be responsible for the energy that you bring into this room. And when I heard that, I loved that because it really is empowering to say, actually, you are responsible for the energy that you bring into every space. You are responsible for the energy that you bring when you walk into a room. And for us, for me, like as not only a founder, but a big principle that I have, been walking in and been trying to implement and implementing for a long time is that I am not a thermometer. I'm a thermostat, and I affect the atmosphere and the energy of every single room that I walk into. And I raise it to a place, I bring it to a space of love, and I bring it to a space of joy and positivity and collaboration and connection. And that when you walk into a space and you can feel something that is off or different or whatever that might mean, that just means that I get to be the thermostat, and I get to be the one that comes in and just shifts the energy of the atmosphere and shifts the energy of the room. And that's when you really start to walk in influence. And that's when you really start to walk in the power of who you be and how you are, instead of being affected by everything else and everyone else around you. And so this concept of being responsible for the energy that you bring into a room, and then knowing that you are meant to be a thermostat and not a thermometer, right? So if you think about a thermometer, a thermometer just reads the energy, right? Like right, reads the energy of the room around it, right? Like it's just going to tell you the temperature. And there's a lot of people that are like that. They can walk into a room, they can feel it, they can like sense it. They don't, maybe they know that they're empath, they're more of that empath type of person, which we all can pick up on this stuff when we're aware and when we're in tune. But that's not necessarily coming from a really powerful place if you allow that energy to then affect you, and you just then like sink to the level of energy like, oh, like it's so dreary, or oh, it's so negative vibey in here, or right, like all of this stuff that affects you as a thermostat or as a thermometer instead of being the thermostat. And then on the other side, when you think about a thermostat, that is more of that controls the temperature of the room, right? So when you're in your house and you've got your thermostat set to, let's just say, like 70 degrees, and the temperature drops below, 68 or whatever the measure of threshold is for your thermostat, or it gets hotter, it gets like 72 or 73, the thermostat automatically kicks in and brings it back to homeostasis, brings it back to balance, brings it back to the temperature that you set. And so that is that no matter what happens in the energy of the room, the thermostat actually controls the environment with its thermostatness, right? With its energy, instead of being controlled by the energy in the room, like a thermometer. And so that's the difference. And I just, like I said, I love this concept of when you walk into a room, you're meant to be a thermostat. When you walk into the room, understand that you are responsible for the energy that you bring into that place. And when you've done the work, when you've done the personal growth, when you come from a space of knowing who you are, of what you're called to be, like I said, maybe you know that you're called to lead from the front of the room. Maybe you are called to create community, because I'm such a firm believer that a lot of the times that if we have experienced a lot of rejection, then that is actually the opposite of, like, that's tied to our calling, that we are actually called to create connection. If we have experienced a lot of hurt, especially from women, like I know I have, then we're actually called, like, because we know the sting of rejection, we know that belonging is a big part of our purpose. And so, like I said, maybe you, like, if you know that you're called to lead from the front of the room, maybe you're already speaking a little bit, maybe you are, like, I remember I used to sit, like in all these great conferences and at these different events. And I would just sit there and like hear these other speakers, and knowing that I was called to speak and share and to be a voice and to lead from the front of the room. And I would sit there and I'd be like, oh, like pick me. Like, I'd apply to these different speaking things. And I know I'm like creating community, or I will have this desire to create community and belonging, because I know how much it hurts to be rejected and to be on the outs and to not feel confident and to not feel like you have a seat at the table. And I kind of just got tired of waiting to like be invited to the table. So I started to create my own tables with different events. And I actually have a not like a ministry and for women of faith. And then I've got Business and Bubbly, and have done other events to where it's like I'm creating my own tables now. And so maybe you're sick of waiting for someone to say, pick me, but you want to like come sit at my table. Because there's a lot of speakers, there's a lot of coaches, there's a lot of women that are out there who are called to absolutely lead from the front of the room, but they're still waiting for permission. They're still waiting for someone to like say, pick me. And if this is you, if you've done the work, you're like a thermostat, that the energy that you bring to the room matters, that you're a connector, the sting of rejection, so that also what it feels like to create belonging and community, especially around women, and especially around modern women in business, then again, like I said in the beginning, being a chapter director might be for you. And if you know that you are fully responsible for the energy that you bring to a room, that you want to influence the room and not just be influenced by it, you want to be the thermostat that impacts the community of women around you in your local area, then being a chapter director could be for you. So again, my encouragement for you, like if your heart is like, yes, like this, like I'm tired of waiting to be called to a seat at the table, like sister, I'm calling you, like there's a seat at the table for you. And all you've got to do is go to businessandbubbly.com, click the apply to be a chapter director, apply, fill out the application. And then if you're going to be a good fit, we'll jump on a call and I'll chat with you about what it could look like in your area. But this is your invitation. Like there's a seat for you at the table to lead a community of women, not just be in the room, but to lead the room, not just to be involved in a room, but to be influence a room like a thermostat and to really be responsible for the energy that you bring, not just into a room, but into your community. You know that you're called to create community. You know that you're called to impact lives. You know that you're called to lead women and to lead from the front of the room, as well as, here's the thing, is to serve, right? Like the things that you've gone through, they're not just for you to keep. You know, you're called to serve. You know that you're called to be a servant leader. You know that you're called to also, like for me, it's to now create platforms that lift up other women and to highlight other women and to equip other women to step into their greatness and to step into who they're called to be. And that's what this really is about. So if this is resonating with you, then again, go to businessandbubbly.com, apply to be a chapter director, and let's have a conversation, because these are the women that are called to lead Business and Bubbly chapters. And this is what it's about. So if this resonates with you, again, you know what to do. You're smart. Just go do it. And I can't wait to talk to you. All right, my friend, go change the atmospheres that you walk into. Go be the thermostat in the rooms that you walk into. Be responsible for the energy that you bring into a room. You are meant for it. You are absolutely a leader. I believe in you. And cheers, cheers, cheers to your success. Talk to you next time.
Thank you so much for listening to the show. I hope it brought some value and some fun into your business and life. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast, and even share the episode with a fellow business bestie who you know will love it. It helps us continue to attract top-level guests and reach more and more women who are on their journey in business just like you. Remember that when money gets in the hands of good women, great things happen. Cheers to your success.